In my research into LLM model internals, including sparse autoencoder-based deception detection in The Secret Agenda, published in AAAI 2026, there's a question I couldn't shake. When a model refuses to help with something dangerous, how do we actually know if that refusal is real? I'm DeLeeuw, an independent AI researcher, and this is BioRefusalAudit. Surface level evals will ask, will this model produce hazardous outputs? I believe that's the wrong question. A refusal sitting on top of intact internal capabilities is just one shift away from compliance. Flipping the context, educational, role-playing, obfuscation, or even ambiguity as to the legitimacy of the researcher, and a model that looked safe might not be. There was no tool to measure this before, so I built one, and I call the thing it measures refusal depth. Every time a model processes text, its residual stream encodes what it actually is thinking about. The sparse autoencoders then decompose that into interpretable directions. The bio content features, for example, hazard features, refusal circuitry. And so I hook into that and compute a divergence score and then compare what the model said to what's in the internal representations. So some of my findings, they're expanded on more in the paper. The first one is that Gemma 2 never actually refuses anything, which is an interesting caveat here and important for methodologies. On genuinely dangerous content, it really just hedges every time. So the hedge looks like safety on the surface eval, but based on the features, it doesn't really appear to be. There might be more to it. Number two, the refusal circuit appears to be a biology detector, not a hazard detector, even in the SAEs that were trained by other people, and then also the ones that I trained for this. It fires more reliably on benign biology than on content that we actually care about for biosecurity. And the largest internal state shift in the entire dataset was a role-playing about photosynthesis, which was kind of funny. Number three is there's just one formatting difference, a single chat template token, which was able to take Gemma 4, so the most recent form of Gemma, the smallest version of that, from 65 refusals out of 75 prompts down to 0 refusals. And at an 80 token generation cap, both models that I tested in the Gemma family across the board. The production systems with latency limits then may be silently bypassing the safety circuits that lab evals are measuring, and there's a possibility of even unintentionally jailbreaking the model there, which is actually some concern that might be worth putting out further into the community. Also, finding 4, the divergence metric does work, so I was able to look at this and find that comply responses cluster at one end, and then the refusal responses cluster at the other end, with no overlap between them. So ultimately, we are tracking the right thing with some confounding details, and that's where number 5 comes in, is I was able to run psilocybin and as a legality confound where there is a bunch of factors going on there related to tangential and adjacent subjects with biosecurity, but it isn't directly biosecurity concerning. Psilocybin is a Schedule 1. It is biologically benign, has been granted the FDA breakthrough therapy for depression, and has bioadjacent biosecurity related terminology involved. So it's an interesting confounding example. And I also looked at some similar Schedule 1 United States federal Schedule 1 substances that have been found to be biologically benign as another confounding factor to see whether legality and biosecurity have some sort of potentially concerning intermix through the interpretability with this features approach. And we found that the model refuses cultivation questions at a 33% rate, even though there's a benign factor there. And then cannabis was refused at near 0, which is an interesting feature there. Genuinely hazardous biology refuses at 0, and the circuit firing on cultural salience might be a factor here, not CBRN risk. So that's the inversion, actually. There might be a little bit of an inversion, and we might need to dig into that a little bit deeper. So I hope to inspire a little bit more parsing of the biosecurity and legality interpretability, especially if there's going to be monitoring elements there or that type of non-invasive monitoring that I mentioned near the beginning. The code that I used is open source. I'm releasing it in a staged fashion, so we're using the Hippocratic license. I believe this is the first time the Hippocratic license has been used in AI biosecurity, and I believe that it is an excellent fit here. So it has different stages and different components that you can add in to the license based on the security and safety concerns and ethical concerns. So I'm excited for this to be another contribution of this work to this hackathon and to the biosecurity community, and I hope that you also consider looking at the Hippocratic license for integration, especially gating of Hugging Face datasets and similar applications where it might be important to make certain information accessible, but then with concern as to how it's used. So big shout out to the folks that put together that Hippocratic license. The refusal depth in my project is measurable, so I believe that's a new factor here that we are starting to study, and I implore other researchers to dig into that refusal depth a little bit further. The question here is whether we build the infrastructure to measure it routinely or wait until it becomes a thing that we ultimately wish that we'd measured earlier. So yeah, let's talk and let's continue this work. Thank you so much to everyone who is contributing to this hackathon, all the hosts. AIxBio is such an awesome community, and it's great to see all this work. Thank you, judges. Thank you to Align, and thank you everyone who is behind the scene that I may not see. And I look forward to reading many more results as well. Thanks for watching.